We're joined by Danielle Williams. Good morning, Danielle.
Good morning.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you actually do here in the city?
Okay, I'm what they call the participation lead for Leicester City, and when they talk about participation, they mean the involvement of children, young people, and their parents and carers, their families. And when they talk about involvement, what they mean is those people, children and young people and parents, having an active say and involvement in decisions around what services are available, how they're delivered, how they're designed, and generally having their voices heard as much as possible.
Okay, now as part of your role, you actually chair the Participation Network Group. Can you tell us a little bit about that, and then tell us a little bit about the proposal to turn the old Haymarket Theatre into a youth hub?
Okay, well, firstly, yes, I do. I help coordinate something called a participation network, and that is a network of different professionals involved in all kinds of different services across the city. So they might be what we call statutory services, that's services that are run through the local authority, the council, or voluntary and community groups, and some of our partners like health and the police. And each of the representatives on the network is somebody that's directly involved in either participation work, so listening to service users and children and young people, or is in charge of making sure that happens in all those different areas. And what we try to do is come together every 6 weeks, and the reason we do that is to make sure we're spreading the word as much as possible about why participation is a good thing, and also so that we can share opportunities and funding and training, and so that we're not all working on our own little individual bits. We can share what we're doing well and how to improve things in terms of participation, but also to make sure that any time other adults or professionals or services want to speak to children and young people or listen to them, that we can advise them on how best to do that, but also make sure we get as many different children and young people involved, especially those that sometimes services call hard to reach. So sometimes it's more difficult to speak to certain children and young people because they're not as visible, or they're not finding it as easy to have their say. But if you have enough workers from across the city, they can get to those young people to make sure everybody's voice is heard when there's decisions made, like the youth hub, the city centre youth hub at the Haymarket.
Okay, now from your point of view, it's very important to make sure that as many children and young people are not only consulted but certainly involved in the writing of the comms plan. Obviously, that's where I come in with our new young people's comms team. Do you think something like this is needed in the city, and it will be a useful resource for children and young people?
Well, definitely, I would say if we're looking at whether something's needed, definitely I think the city centre youth hub is needed, and that's not because I made the decision or other professionals, adults in services made the decision, but the way my place came about was that the government, or a certain part of the government, alongside the big funding called the Big Lottery, they offered out money to different areas across Britain based on bids, so funding bids which were applied for by young people, and young people in Leicester chose the bid for the Haymarket to be used as a youth hub. So I feel quite strongly that the service must have been necessary because young people themselves were asking for it. And obviously, in order to get it right, we have to have a team that manages how we use that funding. You need to pull different people in. But throughout the planning and development of the youth hub, which should be based on what young people have said they wanted, of course, what we have to do is keep making sure we ask young people that will be using the service, children that may use the service in future, because it's going to take a couple of years to develop, and obviously their parents and carers as well, because what we need to make sure is that parents are happy for the young people to go, and obviously young people want to make sure that their parents are happy because they want to be able to use it. So it's absolutely crucial, and it will only be useful if we continue to listen to children, young people and their parents whilst we get the project up and running.
That's brilliant. Well, thanks very much, Danielle, taking the time to speak to us.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you.
Thanks.